Hello, Internet, and welcome back to Antiheroes Anonymous, our 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons show here on Twitch or later on YouTube. We are back after a long hiatus, about a month, so that I can plan the next arc. But we're ready to get going, and it's going to be awesome. So, a couple quick announcements, and then we'll get into a quick recap, and then we'll get into play. So we stream on Twitch every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and then post those episodes to YouTube the following Wednesday. Throughout the show, we use a variety of custom items, as well as a brand new, as of like last month, Wild Magic table for our Wild Magic Sorcerer. We have music from BattleBards, TabletopAudio, and Incompetech. So if you're watching us on Twitch, you can check the channel page for links and info to everything I just mentioned. Or if you're watching us on YouTube, you can check the video description for very similar information. Additionally, you may have seen, if you follow us on Twitter, or if you're watching the Starting Soon screen, or even right now looking up at the top right corner, that we've got some brand new schwanky character art. And Nick, remind me what...
Carrie Peach.
Carrie
Peach. As in like the fruit.
As in, okay, Carrie Peach, yeah. So you can find her on Twitter, I think, to see her art and stuff like that.
There's a link in the references section of the Twitch channel.
Cool. I just want to make sure we were citing it because she's awesome.
Yep.
And other than that, you can follow us on Twitter, which is @Antiheroes Anon, for more information. And if you do enjoy the show, we're always happy to have viewers, so please feel free to come back and share with your friends if you like. Before I forget, we should have the players introduce themselves.
Okay.
Somehow I skipped that. That's the very first announcement.
Because
So
I
we'll start with
Nick.
Nick.
screwed everything up, yeah.
We'll start with Nick.
Okay. Nick, I played Camelot, Human Vengeance Paladin.
I'm Kay, I play Harmony, who is a tiefling wild magic sorcerer.
I'm Melissa, and I play Mara, who is a human rogue pirate.
I'm Zach, and I play Hunter, who's a Warforged fighter ranger. I do that.
It's a lot of things now.
Hey.
And I'm Ethan, and I'm the Dungeon Master for this show. So, quick campaign recap. So this is the entire 75 episode campaign up to this point, boiled down into what looks like about 10 bullet points. So, good job on Nick for doing that. It all started when Harmony and Hunter woke up in Ravenmoor and took down the corrupt Lord Cranston with the help of Mandus, who turned out to be a silver dragon in disguise, who was charged with protecting a shadow crossing into the Shadowfell. During this process, while they were taking down Lord Cranston, they also met with the Eyes of the World, which are a shadowy organization with sort of unclear goals at that point. They then helped save the forest surrounding Ravenmoor from a coven of hags led by night hag named Mother Midnight, who happened to escape with an orphan named Ronan, who had just recently been converted into a hag herself. They then began to travel eastward, heading off towards the Elderhaven Reaches, which is the home of the Eyes of the World. And in doing so, crossed through Redwater, where Thaddeus joined the party, and they together managed to restore the goddess Melora's blessing upon the town, with the help of an Aasimar boy named Eli, who will probably be coming in very soon. And then on their way to Ferendel, the capital of the city, which is further east, and again on their way to the Elderhaven Reaches, they freed Harmony's friend Radiance from a group of orc slavers. Then they finally arrived at Ferendel, where they met up with Mara, a human pirate of sorts, who had recently set foot into the town. And together they raced to stop the Eyes of the World from killing the archwizards of the Assembly of Eight. Namely, they were trying to prevent the death of one Helia Ironshield, and later Leah Moonbrook, but unfortunately both were killed in their efforts.
Leah's kill confirmed!
Yeah. We never knew
It's
that.
in the recap!
I didn't say that.
Oh, you said they were lost despite their efforts.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, okay, Leah's death was a bit ambiguous.
Oh no. I was
I was pulling up!
Oh no.
Sorry, guys.
I guess you should have realized is the people who spent like a month killing the other 7 probably killed her too.
Probably, yeah.
Shouldn't have felt that bad though.
Did we count the brains? Is that maybe we put it down?
No.
I don't remember.
Anyway.
So then later, Hunter remembered his past and his former name of Zant. His time where he was spent, or where he spent his past in the Elderhaven Reaches, desperate to save his homeland from the hands of the world, which is an offshoot of the Eyes of the World. Then, soon after that, the group confronted the wizard Orin, leader of the Eyes of the World, in the throne room of Farendale, but his Warforged army stormed the city anyways. The group managed to escape the Warforged sacking of the city through the help of Thaddeus's, you said sketchy in here?
Yeah,
Thaddeus's sketchy brother Gavin. I don't think the sketchy
that
brother
is kind of like blatantly
I
cool
mean,
brother guy.
he's basically like Daddy's for sketch.
Yeah,
Kind of,
he's
yeah.
a complicated character,
Yeah.
but he's a jerk.
That's why I didn't call him Devo.
He's a jerk,
He's
that's for sure.
He's complicated.
Uh, Then, after an altercation with a Rakshasa in the city of Marblecleft Landing, the group went to an island known as Kame-Kame Island in search of a magical compass that would grant them access to the Elderhaven Reaches so that they could strike at the hands of the world and take down this organization that has now taken over the continent of Farendale. And then they managed to find the compass, but they also learned of a serious trouble that was occurring back in Ravenmoor, with their friend Mandus having been kidnapped or something like that by a powerful vampire. And they are now headed back all the way to where everything began to start in their effort to try to save Mandus. And that's where we're going to pick up tonight. You guys had sort of settled down on the deck of the Drowning Kiss, the ship you had acquired, which was willed tomorrow when its previous captain died. And yeah, you were settling down for a night's rest so that Harmony could re-prepare her teleport spell, and then you were going to, in the morning, set off for Redwater, I believe, which is nearby to Ravenmoor, and where you were planning to pick up or see if you could get a little bit of help from Eli. So, let me find some music, and you guys can roleplay anything you want to do before the night takes.
How much party funds do we have?
I can check that in a second.
Because I feel like I should probably make some potions.
Oh, we got it for that.
Oh, is that what we're going to go for? How many potions do you guys, are you carrying any?
I
Or?
don't care potions.
Okay. Yeah, well, see what happens next time you fall on your ass. I have
one of you will use your potions.
one.
I frequently use my hand feature to clear the rest of them.
I have one normal healing potion, but that's all I have.
I only have a potion of fire breathing.
Right.
I've got a water breathing, which I don't think works as
I have a superior healing potion.
Where did that come from?
I don't remember exactly where that one came from, but I have it here.
It might have been on Orin when you killed him, I'm not sure.
It might have been.
Yeah, one of us should probably hold on to that, considering. Okay, so should I make a couple of greater healing potions before we go?
Yeah,
Since we've got the evening.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay, how many should I make?
A couple is typically 2, but you can make as many as you like.
How many can you make?
How many can I make in a night?
In a night, probably just one.
Oh, just one
Yeah.
in one night.
Mhm.
Okay. I can make one.
That's better than none.
And it was 100 gold?
150, I think,
150
for a
for greater?
Okay.
50 for regular, 150 for great.
Minus 150.
Yeah, I'll make one. And I'll hold on to it.
Okay. So I'm gonna take this bow that we got, and I'm gonna shoot it.
Okay, yeah, the sky darkens and the stars begin to come out.
Yeah.
And having spent some time learning what this bow can do, and this is for viewer reference, this is a bow that was pulled from a cryptex, which was in the hoard of a dragon turtle, guarded underneath a volcano, and basically was the final trial for the party on Kame-Kame Island. And supposedly this is the compass that will guide them to the east.
Do you want me to read the description a little bit? It's really good.
Sure, go ahead.
It's called Omku of the Northern Guardian says this short bow is decorated with the iconography of waves, turtles, and stars. And then it says, and then it goes into the damage properties and stuff. It does magical damage, and additionally, firing this short bow into the night sky without knocking an arrow will supposedly guide you to what you seek.
So the compass is the bow.
Well, we're gonna find out. So I will knock an
So
arrow.
as the
and-
sky darkens and the stars begin to come out,
I will not
takes
knock an
out the
arrow.
bow, pulls back the string, and as he does so without an arrow, a shaft of radiant light forms, sort of where the arrow would be. And as you fire it up into the sky, it fires up until you almost lose sight of it amongst the stars, but then it bursts with a brighter light, and then streaks across the sky, immediately to the north. And just sort of out of sight into the darkness.
That's cool.
To the north, it says. Do I have an idea of why I was pointing north?
Nope.
Okay. Do I know continentally what is to the northwest?
Yeah, I can pull up the map actually.
Sure.
There's probably some charts and shit.
Yeah, okay.
So, pull up, oh shoot. The stat cards are above the map. I'll have to fix that later. So I'm not going to show the viewers the map at this point in time. But to the north of you, there is not much. There's sort of the tail end of the continent that is Adeus, which sort of drifts off into some largely unpopulated lands or uncivilized lands as it goes eastward, but pretty much it's just ocean to the north.
Interesting.
And you would know that from your position, as always, the Elder Haven reaches is to your east.
Yeah. Huh. I'm going to the north. Does anyone else want to try it? And I hold it up.
I'm not really good at that kind of thing. Why not?
And I combine
Okay.
Same thing with no arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same thing occurs. As you draw back, a shaft of light forms in the bow, and then as you point it skyward and launch it up, it almost fades amongst the skies and then flares to life and, like a shooting star, shoots across the sky to the north.
to the north again.
Do you have to attune to it? Or maybe that's just the way we are meant to go.
Yeah.
It does not require attunement.
Doesn't say it.
Cool. Alright, well, that's enlightening. I'm ready to go to bed.
Well, you're going to be up for a little while working on your potions.
After my potion is done.
I have a feeling we're done tomorrow.
And then, long time no see.
Yeah, this week. I haven't really had much chance to chat.
No. I'm now so nervous. I felt more so
I need to talk to you about what you were doing. Because I come to realize that my brother is a problem. And you were his brother. And I wonder how well do you remember what you saw talking to me?
Your brother's one strange little puppy.
Worse than that.
If you must know, I am a member of the Under City Sisterhood, which is an organization, and I was hired by you guys, but I was also hired by him.
To do what?
He wanted information about you, but when I found that out, I was kind of cagey until I gave him very much information.
Alright.
Mara would recall that, I'm not sure if you're not telling him this on purpose, but you would recall that your first mission, sort of your side mission in Helya Ironshield's tower, was to retrieve a book.
That's
And
right.
it turned out that that book was requested of the Undercity Sisterhood by Gavin.
But I didn't know that until I met with Alyssa, right?
Right.
After I found it.
You knew that you were supposed to get a book, and then you met with Alyssa, and Alyssa said, I need you to stick with these guys a little while longer, because you need to give this book to Mr. Hammerlock's younger brother.
They both have these book fetishes. So.
Alright, well now I need to know several things. One, what did you tell him about me?
Not much, but then I've gotten to know the truth.
But what did you say? I'm not mad at you, but
No,
I need to understand his plans.
yeah. It was right after we woke up from after being with Mandus when we were all separated. And I woke up in front of him and Valerie
When you were in his room, did anything strike you as unusual?
Yeah, what was it called? You're not with us.
I'm not with you.
You're not with us, but what was it called? He had this weird kind of creature in his room. I remember that.
Oh, the ball. Yeah, I saw that.
And so that was when Harmony and I were in there because she was gathering stuff too.
Were you searching his room?
Yeah, we were.
Did you find anything relating to the moon?
Not in particular, no. Other than the diamond, which you know to be associated with Thaddeus's deity, who is a deity of the moon.
And what was? Do you tell me about the book? What was this book about?
It was
Iphi's Grimoire of Sealing.
Memoirs. You never took a look at it, did you? You never took a look at the book, did you?
I didn't. I would have understood it anyway. It's not my bag, man.
Maybe involved in something extremely serious. I'll tell Mara about the dream that is had about I and the world. You don't remember anything having to do with that, but that doesn't talk about anything in this room?
Nope.
Alright. If you think of it,
If it comes to me in a dream or anything, I'll let you know.
thank you.
So, Harmony, as you're up a bit later making your potion, and everyone else has kind of gone to sleep, you smell a familiar smell of sulfur near you, and it proceeds only by seconds, a little tug on your skirt. And then you hear a familiar voice, the voice of Moloch the Imp, say to you, "Hey boss, I got something I want to talk to you about. Do you have a sec?"
I'm done with my potion.
No, you're still working.
Oh.
It's kind
Yeah.
of as you're working on it and everyone else has gone off to
Yeah.
sleep.
If you don't mind that I keep brewing, then
Yeah, that's fine. It's not going to take long to talk about. It's just, look, I went to Ravenmoor,
Yeah.
and I saw what's waiting for us there, and it's bad. It's really bad.
how bad is
It's,
I mean, like, what? How bad? What
I mean, there were snake people, there were undead everywhere. It's in a real bad way, and we're going to be in trouble when we get there.
yeah, I was kind of afraid of that.
Yeah, and then he's visible again at this point. He's become visible. And he kind of gestures at his body. It's like, as you can see, I'm a bit on the scrawny side. There's not real much I can do if it comes to a fight,
Right.
but I think that I could be more helpful. I just would need a little bit of help from you.
What do you mean?
Well, look, so here's the deal. Back in the Night House, a long time ago, I used to be a little bit tougher than this. Like, and he holds up his arm and it's just like a twig. He's like, this isn't gonna do anything against vampires or undead or anything, so I'm just gonna have to hide in the background. But if, for example, we get there and things look really tough, and you think maybe it would be good to have a little bit more fighting power, I'd be happy to contribute. I just am gonna need a little bit more, a little juice.
A little bit more, yeah, like fuel.
Yeah. So here's the thing. You don't really use up all your magical power every day, do you? Not usually, anyways.
Yeah, it depends on the day, but sometimes I have a little bit of stock.
So say you're going to bed and you got a little bit of extra juice in your tank. And at this point, he produces a baseball-sized sphere of like crystal. It's like perfectly clear. You can see from one side to the other, but you can see sort of infernal arcane runes etched in it as well. It's like, I got this. Stole it from a treasure hoard from a bigger demon than myself years ago, but it's really good at storing magical power and transferring it. So I was thinking, if you had any of that extra magical juice at the end of the day, and you wanted to just pour a little bit in here, I could then take that onto myself, and then, maybe I would increase in strength a little bit, be able to help you out in a pinch.
Would it be a permanent change for you or just temporary, like
He just like shrugs his
Drinking.
shoulders.
like a fire breathing potion that lasts for a minute or something?
He shrugs his shoulders and says, "Look, I'm no wizard. I don't know how this works, but I've spent enough time with this thing to know that, in theory, it's possible."
I'll hold my hand out for the
He hands it to you.
look at it. Can I read what the runes say?
Yeah, it's just kind of like arcane mumbo jumbo. It's in infernal runes, but it's
Because I speak it.
yeah. A lot of the incantation that is carved into it has to do with the idea of like storing power, transferring power, that sort of thing. There's nothing particularly malign or not malign, like evil about it necessarily. It's just carved in infernal.
Right. So do I get the sense that I can like store a spell in here and then use it later?
Effectively,
Or is it just for the transference of power?
yeah, it's more like raw power. It's not a spell gem that like stores an actual spell. This thing seems to hold actual like magical power.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of a distinction. It's the power before it's been shaped into a spell.
Put some good berries in it.
I'm gonna need to think about this.
Yeah, sure. You take all your time you want. Spend some time with that little thingy. See if you think it's worth pursuing. But I just know what you're going up against. It's not pretty. And
I think we would all appreciate a little bit more firepower.
yeah, and I'm here anyways. I might as well be useful. Is my thought.
Right. And you know, if it were just up to me, I'd do it in a heartbeat. But you know,
Yeah,
a
I know.
couple members
And
of
he
the
kinda-
team are a
He
little
kind of like
iffy about you, you know.
he
And
puts on a stiff manner and starts like parading around the ship. And he's like, "Well, someone might not think it fits the agenda of the party."
you sound just like him. Okay, but seriously though, I will. Do you mind if I hang on to this?
Yeah. What am I gonna do with it on my own? You hold on to it.
Good point. And I will put some power into it, but I want to keep it. And if we are in a bad way, as like a last resort, maybe I could give it to you, but only as a last resort.
Yeah, sure.
Just
that
you
sounds
know,
fine.
don't take it out of my back or anything. I know you have sticky fingers.
Look, I've stolen from enough people to know who it's okay to steal from and who I can get away with it with. And look, I don't want to mess with this whole group that's here. So you don't have to worry about me, boss.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you bringing this option to the table. I think we make a good team.
Yeah, I think so too.
Even if you are a little bit on the scrawny side.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we can fix that, we could be a better team. That's all I'm thinking.
Right.
So you hold on to it, and you just say the word.
Okay. Just you know, stay nearby, stay invisible, and we'll talk about it later.
Yep, he does like a salute. Says, "You got it, boss." And then he disappears in a puff of smoke.
Pat him on the head before he goes. Whew. And I look to see if Daddy's overheard any of that.
Looks to be
Like,
sound asleep.
Completely asleep.
He kind of rolls over a little bit.
Kill 'em all.
Finish burning my go to bed. I don't remember how many spell slots I had left because I erased them all.
Yeah, so just basically, you can keep pouring as many spell slots as you want into this thing. Just let me know when you use it, like
I
how
will.
many you're pouring in, so I
Yeah.
can keep track.
I will.
So eventually, Harmony, you find your rest. But Mara, as you're sleeping for a little while, you're having really restful sleep. But then you have sort of one of those dreams that like it's bad and you know it's bad, so you're restless and you're tossing and turning, but then you wake up and you can't remember what you were dreaming about. And as you sort of go up onto the deck of the ship to sort of get a little bit of a breath of fresh air, you catch sight of something off on the distant shore, or closer to the shore than you are, but just several hundred feet away. rising up out of the water, almost without making a sound, which is incredible for the size it is a massive shape. And at first you can't necessarily tell what it is, but it's got a point at the top and it just seems to rise up out of the water and then settle down on top of it. And as the whole shape emerges from the water, even in the dark of night, with the moon shining down, you can make out, once your brain wraps itself around the size of this thing, which is sitting above the waves, it must be 100 feet up, is a vast boat. And it has just rose up out of the water and then settled on top of the water, almost without making a wave. And then as you're watching from your point here on the deck of the Drowning Kiss, you can see from the very, very top, what would be the deck of it, 3 figures, which you can't really make out any details just because it's dark and they're so far away. But 3 figures leap from the edge and dive straight down into the water with elegant form. And they're under the water. You don't see them again for what's several minutes almost. But then after several minutes, you spot against the hull of this vast, massive ship, those 3 figures climbing up a ladder back up to the top deck. But they're carrying, draped over their shoulders, something that looks like it could be a bundle or something like that. Actually, why don't you make a perception check and see if you can make out what it is. But make it at disadvantage just because it's so dark and far away. As a 1? Okay.
No.
So you can't make out what it is, but it's like this sack or something that looks heavy that's just draped over their shoulders. And they climb back up the ladder and onto the deck of this incredibly huge ship. And then the ship begins to list backwards, back into the water the way it came, and disappear from view. But as it does, you hear a familiar sound carried across the waves. The sound of several voices singing a song, a sea shanty. A shanty you grew up hearing as a child. One that your father or your grandfather, Anton, would sing to you all the time. But it slowly fades as the boat disappears beneath the wave and then is gone. And the night is still again.
I'm gonna cry. Who should I tell?
Right now you're the only one awake.
I think I'm gonna go wake up Harmony. Tell her what I saw.
So Harmony, you're jostled awake. in the bar.
What? Where's the danger? I got my grandma's staff. I'm ready.
As you reach for your staff, you smack Moloch, who's invisible next to you. He says, "Ow!"
Oh, sorry. Go back to sleep. Wait, no, wake up. There's danger.
So I tell you what I saw about the big massive ship.
I like run up to the dock.
Yeah, it's
deck.
gone now. When it came up from under the water. How is that possible?
Have I ever heard of anything like this before?
Roll a history check.
First roll of season 7.
Or an arcana check, I suppose.
Arcana.
But
Yeah,
with
first
intelligence.
Oh, that's true. Second roll
Oh,
is
second. 2 and 1.
First roll was a 1. That's nice.
Just like last season.
12.
12? No. You have no idea. There are limits to magic that you can't comprehend, and you know this, so...
So I couldn't really make out these people that came up to the deck and they dove in the water. They came back out with something, carrying something. I couldn't make out what it was. It's so dark. But then when they sailed away, they were singing my grandfather's song.
Your grandfather had his song.
Yeah, he loved to sing. He was
Are you sure it wasn't like just like a common pirate song?
Well, it could be a common pirate song, but
That's
my
weird.
grandfather sang it all the time.
I know. Are you sure you're not? Are you? Can I just slap you?
You can try.
I mean, right, I'll just pinch you really hard.
Oh,
So you're definitely awake.
I'm awake. What should we do? I don't think there's any way to follow it. She's got her own vision up right now.
Do we still have that potion of water breathing? Did I drink mine?
That makes sense.
I could polymorph you into something.
I have the cloak of memory.
That's true. I could polymorph myself into something, so we can go swimming and check it out if you want.
It just happened, so if we're gonna do anything with that, do it now.
Or,
But it's dark. Dark underwater anyway. We have something that'll help us.
well, Hunter has that. Do you have a flashlight or something? Am I misremembering?
I don't think there's any flashlights
No.
in this campaign
What?
yet.
No, we can't take a torch under water.
That is the sword.
That is sorry, that's no. I can't cast light on anything.
Mara, you're not sure why. This night's weird for you in a lot of ways, but your brain goes, for some reason, when you're trying to think of light source, you think of that blue candle that was in the box
That's
of stuff that your mother left you.
And I'm gonna go back to Moloch and tap him on the head.
Yeah, what's that?
If Hunter and Thaddeus wake up, not so much Thaddeus, but if Hunter wakes up, can you tell him that we just went to check on something real quick, and if we're not back, we are underwater.
Okay, yeah, sure.
We should be back, before an hour's up, because that's like as long as my spell lasts.
Sure, sounds good.
Let's go.
So I rummaged through my bag and I come up with this weird thing.
That's cool. Where'd you get that?
I know. My family's really cool.
Yeah, you're cool, Mara. You're really cool. Alright, and I'm gonna do swan dive over the deck into the water, and on the way down, I'm gonna turn myself into a shark!
Check for wild magic.
Uh-oh.
Safe.
Man, that would have been awesome.
Barely. I rolled a 3.
In water.
Yeah, the boat
Yeah, what
walks
is
a
it?
little
A
bit.
giant shark or something that's in the monster manual?
There's a giant shark, there's a shark, and there's a hunter shark. I think.
Hammerhead shark.
What do you think is the most stealthy? Hold on, let me see.
Maybe the hunter shark? I don't know.
Whichever one can see the best.
I mean,
You
they're
said
all
PHP or monster manual?
I have no idea. I can roll it.
not monster manual. I was just saying whatever so the PHP works. Are you coming? I just jumped into the water for
Yeah,
you.
I'm coming.
Shark,
With my
shark, shark,
manual.
reef shark. Reef shark might be the most stealthy, just based off the name. So
That's water breathing.
Oh, reef shark. There it is. Yeah, I'll do a reef shark.
okay.
Blind sight, 30 feet.
Perfect. So yeah, Harmony has dived into the water.
And on the way down, I'll polymorph myself into a reef shark. I make one of those, the smoothest entrances into the water you've ever seen. Not even this splash.
Roll a dex check for us.
Show up, Harmony.
Is it as smooth as the ship?
With my shark form?
Yep.
8.
Sweet. No, it's not that graceful.
Belly flop.
In my mind, it was very, very
Yeah, it's a belly flop and it rocks a little bit.
Yeah. In your head, you're like, yeah, that's good. That's what a shark would do.
Are you following?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That's
Just
what
with
we're
the
doing.
cloak of the manta ray. You dive in, and for you, it is instantly dark. But Harmony's still there, and you can kind of grab onto her.
I'll
dorsal
swim
fin.
over and have you grab my dorsal
And
fin.
I brought the candle.
Do I swim faster than you now? My
You've
swim
got
speed is
40
40.
feet, and she has
30.
30.
Or do you get an increased swim speed?
I think it's 40.
You don't really hold on to me unless you can't see anymore.
Are you? There it is. Can you read it?
60 feet, so actually you swim faster than I do.
Wow, that's really fast.
So maybe the shark is holding onto
Yeah.
So the shark just bites onto the cloak. No, listen together. You can leave. Well, I can't talk because I'm a shark, but
Yeah, so we will have one of you make a perception check at advantage.
Is yours better?
Well, actually, Mark, since you can't see, you'd be at disadvantage. So
So she's got that blind sight.
I have blind sight. And then,
Your blind sight is better than mine.
right.
She doesn't
Well,
have
mine
that.
is 30
Yes,
feet.
She doesn't have
Her new rogue ability.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's blind sense.
I didn't know that. That's cool. How many
Yeah.
feet?
hers is 10,
10
hers is
feet.
30.
Okay, then yeah, just one of you can make a perception check.
Yeah, my perception is Not +2.
Mine's +5.
Do you get
You make it.
Do you get your proficiency with your new form, or do you just
I
only
use the
stats?
sharp stuff.
Just the
but
sharp.
not sharp. Oh. Nice.
18.
18. All right. You dive down towards the bottom in the direction that you saw the boat going, and you're underwater for several minutes, just sort of following along the bottom, trying to find any trace of this ship. And while you don't manage to catch up with the ship itself, you do find a place where it looks like maybe it doesn't look like it's from a creature or anything like that. It looks like some large object scraped against like a rock formation and scratched against it, and you can tell as you get close to it that it's like a fresh scrape. So very clearly the boat went this direction, but it is moving quicker.
Is there anything on the sea or around that we can tell that they grabbed?
So you want to go back and search where you saw the people dive?
Yeah, since we can't catch up to the ship.
As you go back around that direction, I'll let you use the same perception roll. Searching around the sea bottom there, you find a heavy chest filled with rocks that had chains tied to it, but it looks like the chains were holding something that is no longer there.
Interesting. You can hear me.
I'm shocked.
Okay. So I guess we just see that we can catch it. Okay, we'll head back up.
And yeah, that whole thing probably took like 15 minutes or so. And by the time you get back on the deck, the night is quiet. You can just sort of hear the sounds of maybe night creatures coming from the island. That's about it.
Okay.
Cancel my spell.
Nothing.
Nothing. I wonder what they took. A little bit too late now.
I imagine like the speedboat wake behind Mara, just like.
Is there I can't remember if I've used sending today.
I believe
I
you
did to talk
To
to
Eli.
Well, if you want, in the morning, you can use the ruby to send a message to your grandfather or something and see if he knows anything about it.
Do I have to know where he is?
No, you just have to know who you want to talk to.
Okay, let's try that. So I don't think there's any reason to wake the boys.
Yeah, we're safe. Just help me back up on the boat, please.
Okay.
My upper body strength is not so good.
Yeah, I mean, together you both get on the top, no problem. Moab kind of helps at the end a little bit.
He like pulls my skirt up. I like
He's
my
trying
tail.
his best.
I like give him a good berry. It's like inert now, but it's a berry.
He just kind of like tosses it over.
Wow.
He needs an evil berry.
He needs an
Oh,
berry,
yeah,
that's
there
true.
you go.
That's true. Alright, well, I'm sorry that nothing came of that, but maybe next time we're at a port town we can ask about something like that.
Okay, good idea. Alright, good night.
Good night!
As you two fall asleep, Hunter, you're nearing the end of your 4-hour
Oh, yeah.
rest.
Okay.
And you don't often dream. You're kind of in this awake state where you're slightly aware of things around you, but also a little bit unaware. But a deeper darkness than usual takes your consciousness.
My old friend.
Hello.
And then it begins to brighten up, and you find yourself in a dream state, which is weird in and of itself. But you're on the shores of, looking around based on like the plants that you're seeing, it looks like it must be the Elderhated regions.
Okay.
And you're looking out across the water to the west, you can determine, because you can see this black fog far off in the distance, sort of just roiling and blocking the view to any sort of
Am
outside
I at
world.
Warforged?
You kind of look down at your hands. and they are human hands. You can
Okay.
see your hands from back when you were Zant.
Okay.
And as you're sort of looking at your hands, you also see these huge carp fish jumping out in the ocean between here and the fog. And your gaze kind of follows around, looks around where you are, and it then alights on a group of small amphibian-looking creatures that stand on 2 legs but also have 2 hands. But they've got like turtle shells on their backs and duck bills, and then they have this like bowl in the top of their head that is filled with water. And you know them; they're a common sight in the Elder Haven reaches near watery areas. They're called kappa.
Okay.
And you can see a group of them on the shore. It's maybe like midday, and the kappa seem to be enjoying like a meal of cucumbers and some sort of weird meat that you can't identify.
Classic. Twice. 3.
You done?
2 more.
All right, bless you.
Sorry.
I just know to wait for the last one. And then as you turn the rest of the way around, you hear a twig snapping sound from behind you. And you turn to see that there is a forest bordering the shore. And it's all colored with the colors of fall. And leaves are falling from the trees in gold and red and yellow. And stepping out from the edge of the forest is maybe like 10 feet tall and 15 feet long, a massive white tiger. And as it approaches you and gets closer, you can see that on its forehead, its stripes form the keen characters for king.
King?
Mm-hmm. And as it gets closer to you, it stops maybe 5 feet away and just kind of stares at you with these piercing, vibrant green eyes, as if waiting for you to make some kind of move.
Do I have any inclination to know what to do at this point?
You can roll a religion check.
Do that. Is it a religion?
Or animal handling, whichever's better.
You said religion?
Mm-hmm.
18?
18.
That
You have the inkling that this is some sort of dream avatar of the white tiger, guardian of the Elder Haven Reaches. And you would reckon that it is waiting for you to show some kind of sign of respect.
Okay, so I would like kneel down in front of it.
And as you do so, it also does a little kneel. It bends one of its paws towards you. And then it approaches closer.
And I would say something like, to what do I owe this honor?
It gets close to you, and it reaches its nose towards you. As you reach out your hand towards it as well, its nose touches your palm, and there's a searing pain, like as if you've just touched a fire.
Friendly.
Okay. And as you pull back your hand, you can see it looks like there's blue flames dancing across your hand. But then they cool to sort of a greenish color. And as they coalesce, you see that they form the ancient keen characters for prince on your palm, and then fade to nothing. And then when you look back up, the tiger is inches away from you. Its nose right in your face, but it's almost as if it's not breathing or something like that. Like you don't feel heavy breath like you'd expect from this creature.
Sure. So I'll just meet its gaze.
And as you do so, a powerful sounding voice sort of fills your mind. The tiger doesn't open its mouth, but this voice fills your mind, and it says, "The great serpent extends her coils from her ancient prison to squeeze the land.
Okay.
If you should wish to defeat her once and for all, and free this land of the darkness that has plagued it since its beginnings, find me, and I will give you the power you need." And then it slowly begins. Sorry, that voice really hurt my throat. For some reason. It slowly begins to back up into the forest.
Okay. I guess I should follow it then.
And as you try to follow it into the forest, roll a survival check.
Okay. That is a 17.
17. You follow it into the forest for a few feet before it turns fully around and then darts into the forest with incredible speed. And you're kind of in a panicked run. Like, it's one of those dreams where you're trying to chase after something, but your body doesn't seem to be moving as fast or as normal as you want it to.
The one dream I had, why is that
And you lose it in the forest. And you're just standing amidst these autumn leaves, which are just slowly floating around you, until you awake, having completed your 4 hours power down sesh. But you find coiled around you where you were sitting the warm form of a white tiger.
Aww.
And
Is it the same size, or is it like a little kitty cat?
Well, maybe once we wake up.
I imagine it was like a little kitten, that's why.
No, it's the size of like a normal tiger, so it's
So pretty big.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's not as big as the one in the dream, for sure.
Okay.
And as
Have a fun character.
I was gonna say, as you awake, it turns its forehead towards you, or its face towards you, and you can see it has the same piercing green eyes, and on its forehead it has the ancient keen characters for prince.
Okay. And so I'll like hesitantly but reach out and like stroke its fur, I guess.
And it kind of rubs into you and purrs.
And okay. Interesting. Wow. That's just new.
And yet you're the first to awake on the ship as the dawn hours are still starting to come upon you.
Alright. Can I skimmed through it, can I just deductively speak to this creature, or do I have to kind of telepathically speak to it in some way?
It's not familiar.
It's
I'm
not
sure
familiar.
that it can understand basic communication.
Yeah, you can talk to it, but we need to cast these sense or speak with it.
Speak with animals to have a conversation.
Oh,
Okay. Alright, got it.
But it can understand what you say and what you want.
Okay. Is it a spirit? Or is it just
Yeah, as you kind of spend some time with it, just sort of, it's very patient as you're sort of like petting it, feeling it out a little bit.
Him? Her?
I don't know, no one's checked yet.
I'll check.
I
It's
feel
a
like
male.
the tigers, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's a male. There's some stuff there. But yeah, as you sort of feel it, there's a little bit of like almost, as you put your hand on it and put the pressure to pet it, there's almost a little bit of give, as if you're pushing into something that's not quite actually there.
Okay.
So Hunter would deduce that it is a spirit
Okay.
and not an actual beast. Though I will say the speak with animal spell would still work on it. Yeah, just because I don't want to like ruin the application of that spell.
I'm gonna tell it to hide on the top deck of the ship and then scare Harmony when she comes out of the forest.
It kind of cocks its head and looks at you, and you can tell it's a little bit judgmental, but it pads quietly up to the top deck.
Right. Can you stealth check for it?
Yeah, sure. Make a stealth check for it.
New toys. Harmony's got like a little bit of drool coming out of the side of her mouth.
You got a 23.
Yeah, it pads right over Harmony without waking her up. And as it passes where presumably Moloch is sleeping invisibly, it kind of sniffs and snorts a little bit and kind of turns in that direction, but then continues to pat it for you. And last but not least, Thaddeus.
yeah.
Oh boy.
As sleep overtakes you, you have a very fitful night's sleep at first. You're having a dream where you're in this dead forest. The earth itself is gray and barren. There's no greenery to be seen, and the trees that grow out of it are dead and withered. It looks like their branches are just reaching towards the sky as if trying to pull in nutrients from a sun that isn't there. And it seems to be a moonlit night. You can see the waxing gibbous moon, the sign of your patron deity, emblazoned on the night sky. But it's a strangely starless night sky. It's just the moon is the only light that you can see up there. And as you sort of are moving through this forest endlessly, you can't seem to find a path anywhere. You feel as if you're looking for a path to something, but you can't find it. But then finally, after what feels like hours of wandering, you hear a "Caw!" And you look up into a tree nearby, and you see that there is a raven perched in one of the trees, and it's looking down at you. And then, as soon as it catches your eye, it takes flight.
I don't have no spark with me.
Nope.
Okay. I'll try and run after it as best as I can.
Yeah, you run after it, but the bird in the sky quickly gets out of your sight, and you find yourself again lost, sort of at a juncture in these trees, looking for a way forward. And it's at that moment again that you hear a "Caw!" And there is another tree, maybe 100 yards off, with a single raven perched in it. And as soon as it catches your eyes, it takes off again.
I'm going to follow it. So.
And this process repeats itself, maybe 8, 9, 10. Eventually, you lose track of how many times. But eventually, the final raven flies off. You chase after it, and you stumble into a clearing. And there seems to be a statue toppled in this clearing. And as you sort of run into the clearing and get a good look at it, you can see that the statue is of a human. Looks to be a human, but it's kind of hard to tell because it's faded and weathered. It could be an elf, maybe. A human woman in gladiatorial armor and clutching a spear, but the top of the spear has broken off and fallen a little ways away. And this statue is toppled at the back of the clearing, and then standing in front of it are two figures. One of them you've seen in dreams before. She wears radiant silver armor, has a ornate hammer at her belt, and is in many places covered with the symbols of the waxing gibbous moon, all the way up to her waxing gibbous earrings, which hang just in view in front of her long, braided silver hair. And she looks invitingly at you as you enter the clearing. But the figure who stands next to her is a little bit more disconcerting. Similarly humanoid in shape, this figure seems to be comprised entirely of twigs that are just kind of intertwined together in a chaotic nest-like pattern. Yet very still clearly a female figure in terms of form. The only clothing that this twig figure is wearing is a black mantle, which looks to be made of raven feathers entirely, and then a silver mask on the face, which covers the entire head, really, and then culminates in a raven-like beak. And then you can see pale white blots of light in both of the eye holes. And the woman in silver armor seems to just beckon you forward.
I'll bow and then walk forward.
As you get close, she says, "My child, it's been some time since I spoke to you in this way. You've done well since last we spoke and overcome many difficult trials. I'm quite proud of you."
I keep letting people slip through my fingers. I haven't gotten vengeance on anybody. The Rakshas is still alive, or it's still alive.
She nods her head. "Yes, that is true. But judgment comes to all who do evil, and I'm confident that you will see through your oath. You've done nothing to disappoint me thus far. And it's for that reason, and because of the company that you keep and the task that you're about to undertake, that I've come to you tonight. You see, this task is a daunting one. The vampire you are about to confront in Ravenmoor is not like the rest of his kin. He is old, ancient even, perhaps one of the very first of his kind to roam this world. And he hasn't wasted his time, his immortality. No, he has spent it gaining more and more power, to the degree that some lesser gods may not be able to challenge him. Not on his territory. And he's been imprisoned for a long time, thanks to the work of another acquaintance of yours. If he should fully break his prison, disaster will certainly come to the world. And you are the only one. You and your friends are the only ones who we, the Divine, can call on in this moment.
Who is, I'm afraid I don't recognize you.
The figure standing next to Sanahan turns the silver-beaked mask towards you and kind of cocks the head to the side, and there's like a snapping of twigs each time it moves. And Asanahan says, "Yes, well, it was important that I introduce you at this point, seeing as you're about to enter a territory that is sacred to this, one of my sisters. Long, long ago, she was known as Inasehe. She was with us at our transition into godliness. And in fact, it is by her work that we transitioned. But she has long held domain over many things, but in recent years, her domain over wisdom has been lost, and she has come to be known as the Raven Queen, according to the common populace. Ravenmoor is her domain, and it has been a sacred city to her for a long time, since the ancient days of the world. And the vampire Alkene knows this, and he knows that several relics of the Raven Queen lie buried in ancient temples to her, there within the city, unbeknownst to the people who live there. I must impart upon you the gravity of the knowledge I am about to share with you. If this knowledge should fall into the wrong hands, the results could be disastrous, but it is imperative that you know the potential consequences of what you are facing. I can't pierce the darkness that surrounds Alkene. None of us can. But if he knows what I believe he knows, that fragments of Inasehe's memories, fragments of memories of the ritual that can transform a mortal into a god, are buried within that city, then should he get out, the very pantheon of this world may shake.
I understand. I will be answering.
I know I can count on you. I just needed you to understand the gravity of the knowledge of what is actually buried there.
I don't think.
I believe you may have to tell your friends, but I will leave that to your judgment. As long as they too understand the gravity of the situation, well, you're the best judge of their character. I will leave it to you. And then as she says that, the twig figure who has been introduced as the Raven Queen holds up to you a tiny silver bell and just sort of extends the hand with the creaking twig motions towards you. And the hand retracts, and the head cocks to the side, and there's a twig cracking sound.
I'll write it down.
It sort of rings out throughout the night and echoes throughout this clearing. And Asanahan looks to the side and kind of raises an eyebrow, but then turns back to you and says, I know that I asked much of you, and that I will ask much of you in the future. but I haven't had a champion so dutiful as you in many years. And then her voice kind of trails off as her eyes are focused behind you, and so are the eyes of the Raven Queen, who kind of tilts the head the other way. And as you spin around, you can see that darkness is encroaching on the clearing, almost stretching hand-like tendrils towards the three of you. And a voice echoes out through the clearing and says, I wondered when champions of the gods would come to stand against me. And here I see that it is my ancient friends, the Moon Sisters, who will be sending their divine... the divine worshippers against me. Well, I plan to make this fun. And the hands begin to tangle around Thaddeus and pull you back into the darkness. And you hear Asanahem shout, No! Thaddeus, you must leave! And there's a flash of white light, and the darkness is driven back momentarily as you come to consciousness.
Ah!
Oh, so you're...
I thought the tiger's hiding.
Oh, that's right. That's
It's
right.
It's like on your bed. It's like above you.
It's above me?
Yeah.
It's like
Oh.
standing right above you.
Oh. I thought you were making him hide, but he's just... Okay. Sorry, I missed that part.
Oh, that was not what I needed. What is that? Where did that come from?
Are you okay?
No. What is happening?
What do you mean, what's happening?
I think when Thaddeus wakes up with such a loud start,
Oh.
pretty much everyone on the boat wakes up.
Mm.
And you can see the light of dawn filtering in from above. And Harmony, as you wake up, yes, there's this tiger directly above you, and it lets out this wow, right in
I
your
go
face.
invisible.
All for wild magic.
Nope.
And I'll call it down from the bed. Okay, that's good.
Nope, I'm
It
invisible.
like circles
What?
around me.
What is going on with this ship?
I
How
guess
many
we all
more
have.
animals are we gonna get? It's turning into Noah's Ark or something. Whose is it?
This?
Yeah.
Did that follow you in from the forest?
This is the spirit form of, well,
Am I mad? Has it finally happened?
what?
I thought it happened a long time ago.
What happened?
Harmony's voice comes from the corner of the room where she fled.
That is having had a madness effect somehow.
Oh.
Gloriana Harwood wakes with a similar start
Oh,
when she
no, I
sees
forgot she was
the
there.
tiger. Holy shit! Where did that thing come from?
It came from a dream.
Well, that's not weird at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
It reached out to me in a dream I had, and I don't normally dream, at least not since before I can remember. But this is, for all rights and purposes, the spirit form of Yakko, the white tiger. And so he offered his aid in our mission. So
You can't eat my rat.
I'm gonna like sneak up behind the tiger and pull its tail.
it notices you.
Mage hand.
Isn't really good?
Yeah, it
Keen
lets out
smell.
a...
No, not mage hand, because then I'll lose invincibility. Just mine.
I think it knows you're there.
Well, I mean,
I'm invisible.
it may know she's there, but it still doesn't like the feeling of the tail being pulled.
I
And
don't
it-
pull hard.
Okay.
Just a soft tug.
Yeah, it reacts though, and it pulls the tail out and sort of turns around, whips around at you with a feral. You do invisibly.
I do it easily. I know it can't see me.
That's like pats himself.
Yeah, you find it in one of your pockets.
What's that?
Every little bit.
Yeah. There's a soft tinkling sound of a bell that rings out through the boat.
Harmony, should we tell the boys what happened last night?
I think you should.
Sounds like we all have.
Sounds like everybody got something. Man, I'm feeling left out. That's true. That's true. That did happen to me too. Mara woke me up. That's what happened to me. Uh-huh.
Shit passed in the night. Okay.
I didn't actually see it though, but I did turn into a shark and that was pretty fun.
What happened?
And I meant
Can
to.
you elaborate a little bit?
Well, first we had to make sure I wasn't drinking. Thanks.
Sorry, did you bruise?
So I'm gonna tell you guys what happened.
Okay.
And that what we've done, basically nothing, no water. We were going really fast. We tried to catch it. It was pretty fun.
That's odd.
It's like a ghost ship. They were singing their grandfather's song.
Was it just a whale?
No, it wasn't a whale. Do you think I know the difference? Hello, pirate.
You know, it's late
I mean, pirates have a reputation,
and
you know,
dark
for getting a little imbibed.
and drinking.
Yeah. Yeah, that. Okay, well, Eli's expecting us today, so we should probably go to Redwater
Yes.
when you're ready.
Um,
Are you okay?
Am I ready first?
Yes.
Well-
Okay, what did you use this thing?
Just think about, like, close your eyes and think really hard about the person that you want to talk to, and then just think about the message that you want to send. But it's like, you can't just talk forever. There's like a limit, so try to keep it short.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm concentrating on my grandfather and I'm asking him if he's still sick and was he near this place?
You just say, "Are you sick?" and "Were you near this place?"
You have to actually write it down. 'Cause it's
Oh,
each
write
page.
it out.
You've
Like
got
it-
you've got
well, you
25
have to
words.
Say it, because you have 25 words.
Okay, so I write out, are you still sick? And were you near the drowning kiss last night?
The message that you get back in return is, Mara, how are you doing this? I don't understand. I'm not still sick. I'm not as I was. And I don't know anything about the drowning kiss.
You didn't know that because it was my father's ship,
Uh,
but he doesn't know if he was okay. That's
it's
all.
also possible it wasn't named that when it was built. It was given a name later. So
Okay,
Any luck?
okay, so we can only do it once?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
while she was saying that, I wanted to go to that unconscious woman we found. And see
Oh,
if I
yeah.
can- if
oh
I
right,
can-
I forgot about her. No, I didn't.
We
She's
all
in
forgot
that.
about her.
To recap the viewers, there was a woman who was under some sort of powerful necromantic spell, who seemed to be sitting guard over the door to the final trial on the island, but she was unconscious in some way.
She looks like Mark.
Oh yeah, she had some sort of resemblance to Mara, uncanny in a way.
And we tried to wake her up and couldn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Dice is gonna go over to her, kind of put his hand on the forehead.
Yeah, and there's a flash of divine light, the same sort of flash you exude when you use lay on hands and things like that. And the woman's eyes sort of slowly flutter open, and she sits up, her sort of like samurai armor clattering as she does so. And then she looks around at her surroundings and scuttles back against the wall of the boat and just kind of sits there.
And in teen, I'll be like, it's okay, it's okay.
And she says back in an old dialect of Keen,
Okay.
very old, "Who are you people? Where am I?"
And then I will tell her, you're on an island known as Kame-Kame Island.
Do you speak common?
What are they saying? I don't understand.
They're speaking the common language around the continent.
Who are they? Who
They're
are
my
you?
friends.
What are you?
Oh.
She sees this like
And
moss-covered wooden.
And then
little
I'm
figure.
like, sorry, I forgot.
And there's a white tiger standing next to it.
Yeah, and then, so what I'll do is I don't recognize her at all, right?
No. But as her eyes kind of dart from person to person, she looks to Thaddeus and there's just like perplexed confusion on her face. She looks at Harmony and her eyes go wide with a little bit of fear.
And
Her eyes
So-
alight on Mara, and she says another word in Ancient Keen which you recognize as Mother?
what?
No, never mind.
And then I'll pull my bow out and say, I'm from the Elderhaven Reaches, and I'm like, maybe you recognize this craftsmanship, and
The short bow?
and I'll pull both those out. And then I was turned into this form, so you
Just
wouldn't recognize
out of
me. I don't
curiosity,
recognize
though,
you.
are you holding onto the short bow, or is Mara?
I haven't.
Because Mara also uses the short bow, which is why I ask.
Mm-hmm. You could use it though if you want.
But this is a discussion we'll have later. Yep, I was just curious. She looks at your bow with kind of a confused look.
And I'm gonna make good berries and make your fun. Maybe you're hungry.
And then she looks at the short bow, and she points at it and says, "We placed that in the sanctuary. And you recovered it?
Yes.
How long have I been asleep?"
What was the last thing you remembered?
I'll play with the finger. Because I'm bored.
We placed the bow in the sanctuary, and I meditated in the pagoda before the door to the sanctuary, and that's it.
What year was it?
She says a year by Elderhaven Reaches reckoning, which I don't have exact years,
Sure.
but
in my
thousands of years ago.
And I would just say that's not possible.
I did.
And I would tell her this is the current year. And I would
By Elderhaven Reaches.
by Elderhaven. And like yeah, by that system, this is the current year.
She's never pregnant.
Huh?
If
Never heard of what?
it's an emperor system.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't think I would be asleep for so long. If you've taken the bow from the sanctuary, you intend to go through the fog?
Yes.
What do you intend to do there? And she kind of stands up, and as she does so, she kind of rolls her shoulders back, and you can hear like the cracking of bones a little bit as she's kind of like getting back into shape. And she takes kind of a tense posture, as she says, and what do you intend to do
Roll
there?
our shoulders too.
And I'll just say, free our homeland.
If that's your goal, if that's truly your goal, then we are allies.
I would think so.
And she sort of does a low bow.
I would
She
bow in time.
says, "My name's Kame-Kame."
And then my name is Zant. And then I would introduce the party.
And as you introduce them one by one, she bows low to each of you.
And then I would refresh, or I would like kind of translate, paraphrase the conversation because we've just been talking the whole time. And then, remember, you don't have any magic to help her speak
Nope.
the common language.
Nope. I don't take spells like that. They're boring.
Kame-Kame begins to wander around the ship, seemingly much more relaxed than she was, slowly like feeling the wood and the construction of it, and like she gets held up on like the nails and things like that, the metal nails. She just kind of feels around the ship, and then she
Does she recognize the tiger at all?
yeah, she comes over to the tiger and says, "May I?"
Sure.
She kind of reaches down and pets its head, and looks at the characters that are written on its forehead and says, "If you have the favor of the divine tiger on your side, we might truly succeed."
I would hope so. And then,
So this is great, but what are we gonna do with her?
Yeah, did she want to come with us?
What
or
are they
was she
saying?
gonna stay here?
What's her deal?
we're wondering, well, we were about to depart on the next leg of our journey, and we're not sure where you fit in. Obviously, you're not accustomed to the
If the next leg of your journey is to head east, back to the Elderhaven Reaches, then I'm coming with you.
We aren't there yet. We have to take care of some other business first.
She thinks and and says, I don't suppose the ship we came here on is still here, after all that time?
Where did you... I don't think it is, based off... We have already looked through the beaches, and I didn't see any of the ships, if it was another vessel.
Will you be sailing from this ship to wherever it is you're going?
Wait,
For
what?
me,
Yes, no, yes, no.
We're going to leave and come back to the ship. So,
I'm gonna take the ship to the Elderman Bridges, but we're going to Redwater.
Right. So we're using other means to get to our destination, our first destination, but then we'll be sailing the ship to the reaches.
I wiggle my fingers and I use prestidigitation to make sparks.
Jimmy reacts with fear.
Can I
They're happy
use...
for
I
us.
still don't understand what this creature is that you travel with.
Can I use
kind of
your
nods
enemy?
her head at me.
Can you tell me what her, how her class levels compare to mine?
You're level 14?
Yeah.
Meta.
I think I might have done this when she was sleeping and said it was higher. But I'll never
Something else. Thania, or Nick, you wouldn't happen to know what level it is monks begin to be able to cast astral projection?
it is later than they get the
So yes,
tongue of the sun and moon.
higher than you.
Sure. Okay.
Don't
Well,
forget about the
so-
sun and moon.
I'm gonna hand her that
That's fine. I would ask her.
because I like Hunter being able to translate.
Yeah.
The ways of monks have evolved for over 1,000 years, so yeah.
That's one thing about monks. They
Maybe-
say something all the time.
And I'm just thinking, like, maybe you should come with us until you get your bearings on this land. If you've truly been asleep that long.
Sure. I don't know what I would do here waiting for you to return.
Exactly. That too. Yeah. Okay.
And what is that thing? And she gestures to Harmony.
A friend.
I'm a little unsure about it, but okay, if you say so.
It's okay.
Thank you for good bearing.
This is like her second.
It's my
She-
second
She
inner
takes
one.
it. She kind of eats it. I haven't eaten in thousands of years.
Are you hungry?
She kind of chuckles at that.
Yeah.
You know, strangely, I'm fine, but I'm fine.
Okay. Perhaps we can teach you some simple words so you can communicate to the rest of my friends.
Sure, of course.
Okay. And then so I'll tell the party. If I've already told you the conversation up till now, but then, yeah, she's gonna be coming with us.
Okay, but I hope she can handle it because it's gonna be dangerous.
She's very strong.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. And yeah, it doesn't look good where we're going. So, the more the merrier. I just hope that she doesn't freak out when I use my magic to get us there because the way she looked at me when I did my little Sparky trick wasn't really that fun.
And then I'll,
She reminds me of a red Oni, just much smaller.
I'll sit there and be like,
Very small.
I see what you mean. But she's friendly.
Perhaps a
And then-
Kijo?
I'll just ignore that. And I'll just say, we're gonna go now. She's gonna use magical means to get us to our
Are we
destination.
ready? We don't have anything
So-
else to do here on the side.
And then I'll tell her, accept it. You know, don't and just stay calm.
I'll try my best.
Okay.
And Gloria has finished packing up her stuff and she says, well, I'm ready to get out of here. Spent just about enough time on this island.
I bet you are. All right. We'll be back. You've got. Okay, so 1, 2. Am I around 3, 4, 5, 6? Did I count me?
Nope. 7.
Does the rat count as a separate entity?
I don't think the rat does.
No. Okay. Good.
Moloch and the tiger do.
Oh, so 8. And
What's the macro?
that's the
You
max.
can just dismiss and do something somewhere else.
That's also true.
Can I do the same with the tiger or not?
You cannot with your tiger.
Well, 8. It's
Okay,
me
so-
and 8 people, so it's 9 max counting me.
That is harmony, Laura. Hunter,
1, 2, 3,
Kameko.
4, 5, 6,
Yako,
7.
Moloch, and then
And me.
Oriana. I already counted you.
Yeah.
That's 8.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're
I
fine.
thought you said it's 9. I was like, what?
No. Well,
Okay.
it's 8 people plus me is 9. So I could take one more person.
Oh, okay. I thought the max was
My
8. Okay,
max
I'm
is
good.
9.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Yep, you do you.
Okay, you guys.
Sorry.
Well, this will be the second time I've cast this. It should go
promise
better than last time.
She's a goal.
And then I'll say she's very confident in her abilities.
That's good. And as you go up to the deck to sort of form up to get close enough to everyone to cast
Everybody's
this
gotta
spell,
get within 10 feet of me.
you can see just back on the beach as you sort of get your last glance at the island, you can see a little orange figure on the deck,
Oh,
just
is it
or
Rob?
on the shore, just kind of waving at you.
I wave.
Yeah, wait.
Oh, that was so much better than I thought you were going to say.
No,
Just
weird
kind of
little guy.
describing the entire island.
Like a restro.
Oh yeah. No.
This
Standing
one-
Standing on top of the volcano, you see the Jurassic Park shot of the Goristro just bellowing towards you. But no, yeah, you see the little orange figure.
Ripping more demons in half.
Alright, so I'm going to close my eyes
Mhm.
and I'm gonna grip my staff and I'm gonna think about the church
So you're aiming to land directly in the
in the church.
sanctuary.
The sanctuary. Not underground, just the normal area. Scare a bunch of people, it would be great. Let's go!
Okay. Let's look up teleport.
Sounds very fun.
And I rolled a fucking 1 on wild magic.
Oh god.
Awesome. That'll happen when you appear.
So that happened!
It's a D100, right?
Hey, but I can roll twice and take either one now.
Yeah, and
Because that's my feature.
Wait, what?
the game will never roll.
You roll twice on what?
And the game has to roll a D100.
Oh boy, okay, alright.
Yeah.
But you're very familiar with this location, so you have a good chance of landing in the right area.
Oh dear. It should be fine, guys.
And you appear in the 9 health. Oh god! Rocks off your face.
It's not plaintive, though.
I took you on a midnight swim. Man.
At least take your dinner first.
Yeah, it must be on the same plane, so we couldn't be
Okay.
shifting to another plane.
Alright.
Should I go ahead and roll wild magic?
So you can roll twice on
I can roll twice and take either one.
Oh, that's
now.
cool.
That's
Is it
my
your-
new
It's your
feature.
choice then, okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna roll twice.
Alright. Wins. Kameko's gonna love this.
I don't know what that does. That sounds potentially bad.
Did you roll?
Alright, we'll do 86.
Roll 20.
Like transfer from the Guardian. Yeah, that sounds really bad. So we're gonna do 86.
This is how
Okay.
we introduce a new NPC to the group.
Do you want me to roll the d6 or you?
Oh, and the entire
I
church.
would roll it.
Whoever's there.
Cool. So the teleport spell goes off, and you are all immediately lurched by your navel. It feels like straight upward. And there's this blinding rush of multicolored light in front of your eyes. It's just sickeningly like red, yellow, blue, green, all these colors in this chaotic stream. And then suddenly the feeling of, the jerking feeling of, that is pulling you upward ceases, and you get this like falling feeling, and the colors begin to work the other direction. And when finally they stop and you're left dizzily standing in a different location, you look around to see yourself in vast plains of grass.
Great.
And as you turn to look at Harmony to say, like, what the heck happened there, you notice that there is a rain cloud that has formed above her head, and blood is dripping from it.
Oh god.
Oh, some sort of cleansing ritual?
Maybe I'm just, making myself
Kameko turns to you and says, was that supposed to happen? Is she supposed to be bleeding from the sky at this moment?
Do I have?
And-
oh,
and I- and
I
I'm-
put the hood of my cloak though.
I think of how
It's
to
just
respond
being
to Kameko.
coated with crimson blood.
Yeah. This is fun. Yeah, that's never happened before.
Hunter, you have some feature that lets you know
Yeah, I was just gonna, but I'm thinking about how to respond to Kamiko because I'm like, oh jeez.
Well, I think we must be pretty close to Redwater because that's where I brought
Alright,
you.
well,
so
I'm gonna.
I thought
figure
it
out
might
where
be
we
a
are.
little bit, weird if we just popped up right in the middle of the town because like that might scare some people and like with the horns and all,
Maybe
So
it's
that
not
doesn't
really
sound like
red.
it.
Maybe it's Redwater from the town. That's how I can do that, yeah.
What do you need to scroll survival?
no,
Yeah, why
it's
don't you roll a survival check at advantage?
definitely lit.
Ew.
That is a
What?
21.
It's dripping into my mouth. What am I supposed to do?
Looking around,
gross.
you begin to recognize landmarks.
Take it back.
First.
Recognize
Gross.
As Hunter begins to look around and sort of take in the surroundings, you begin to recognize features of this plains.
Uh-huh.
You're maybe like a mile off of the road that travels eastward from Redwater to the capital. So you're maybe like a day away from where you fought the orcs, perhaps. Somewhere between where you fought the orcs and Redwater.
So I'll tell Kamiko, I'll be like, yes, we're in the vicinity of our location, and then I'll tell the rest of the people, say, we're about a mile away.
See? No
And I'll
problem.
say it's over
I
this way.
totally did that on purpose. I just start walking.
Yes, we need more.
As the group starts walking and Loriana is trying to keep up, she...
Oh, wait. The ninth person you spoke for was Minos, right?
Oh,
Oh, yeah. There it is.
did I?
I mean, you can
Did
always
I know?
resummon the Night Sparkle, but
Yeah, but I didn't prepare that spell for me.
Did I know?
about 10 seconds later, a horse comes into existence. Just somehow a delay in the teleport.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Spreads its wings and flaps them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'll see. Wait, I'll look at you.
And she kind of looks at the group of you and says, actually, if you're going to Redwater, to be honest, I was going to head east from there anyways. There's a halfling settlement not far from there, and I think I know the way once we get onto the road. It might be about time that we parted ways.
Aww, you have to go.
I don't know. I'm adventurous, but I don't know if what you're going into is something that I want to...
Yeah, she's probably
get
better
involved
not
with.
walking into a den of vampires
It's
and
true.
Yuan-Ti and roasting and...
It sounds thrilling, and I'd love to hear the story from you eventually, but I think it might be a bit beyond me. Even my luck has its limits.
Have you ever been to Lakeshore?
To West Shore?
West Shore.
Yes, once or twice.
There's a place there I think you'd enjoy.
Oh.
I guess I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's like,
Is
is it
that Heart
Magic of
Lake?
the Heart Lake?
Yeah, Magic of the Heart Lake.
Magic of the Heart Lake.
Nice memory.
It's called Magic of the Heart Lake.
Oh, I've been there. I've done signings.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Lovely little shop.
Yeah,
Shop
it
is wonderful too. Selena, something like that. Quite a wonderful young lady.
I feel like Harmony actually
Hey.
said that.
I recognize that name.
Mhm.
Serena.
I've had many late night chats about that.
Yeah, I bet you'd forgotten all about her, didn't you?
Sure.
Sure.
She kind of
And I leaned down this one, yeah, ring thought them all.
Oh god,
Loriana leans back out.
And I'm like, he had a huge crush on her. But that wasn't until we met.
He's quite romantic, isn't he? And she sort of clutches at her little locket that you've seen she wears that's kind of shaped like an inkwell. And some of you know, I'm not sure who knows this, but there's a picture of a halfling veil in there.
I think I know, right? 'Cause I-
You might be the only one.
I
because
think.
I had it.
Oh yeah, I thought that's not.
She clutches at it and she says, I'm going to be stopping off at the halfling village for just a little while, but then perhaps I'll make my way there. Is there a message you'd like me to give to Serena?
No, I just thought you might. If you didn't know about it, like stop.
I'll tell her you
Did
said
you ever
hello.
send that letter? Yeah.
That's great.
But before we part ways, and you've sort of come to the road at this point, she says, Thaddeus, could I speak with you for a moment?
Yes, of course.
And she sort of draws you off a little ways.
Harmony, you're still bleeding.
And she's,
I'm not bleeding, it's bleeding on me.
I really like Kamiko's description. You're bleeding from the sky.
Yeah. This is gonna be a bitch to get out.
once Gloriana has you a ways away from the group, she kind of motions for you to stoop down since she's like 3 feet tall. You're quite tall. She says, listen, I've been thinking quite a bit about your the situation we talked about. Your romantic one. And I know the way that I would write it, but I don't think the way that I would write it is the way that you would necessarily want it to play out. So I thought about really what would be best for you and not best for one of the characters in one of my novels. And I think I have some advice for you. It seems to me, and this is just one humble romance novelist's opinion, but it seems to me that you stand at a crossroads of what is easy and what your heart desires. I don't think any books have ever been written about the one who takes the easy road, nor has anyone who has had a chance at happiness and didn't take it not been filled with regret. And I think, as cliche as it is, the answer that I can provide you is that, were I you, I'd follow my heart, regardless of how hard the situation may be. But like I said, it's just one romance novelist's opinion. And you do have obligations as a noble, I'm sure, and she gives a little bow.
It is the opinion of romance novel I hold the highest. So thank you.
She bows again, even deeper. It's been a real pleasure traveling with you and your companions. In particular, I've taken a shine to Harmony. Don't let her die in what you're doing.
I try.
She's not quite as lucky as she thinks she is. And then she rummages around in her bag, and she pulls out something from the very bottom of it, and it's a little pin, which is in the Thaddeus character art, which says Gloriana Heartwood fan. What does it say on it again?
I think it says like Heartwood fan or something.
Heartwood fan or something like
Oh,
that.
that's great.
And she hands it over to Thaddeus.
This
It's not much. I wish I could give you more for what you guys did for me on that island, but it's a collector's pin from my book tour a couple books ago. So
I'll wear it. That starts fascinating. Shakes her hand.
I've still got to say goodbye to everyone else, but you've got a good group of friends, and I know you're going into a dangerous situation, so I would hate to hear later when you tell me of this tale someday in the future that some of them didn't make it out alive. So, and with that, she rejoins the rest of the group and goes around. She gives Harmony a big hug. Mara, she kind of shakes your hand and says, "Don't get the group into too much trouble, will you?" And then Hunter, she just kind of,
Taking the blood off her after she fixed me.
oh yeah. She, thanks for that.
Yeah.
I can't go back to my village drenched in blood. That's for sure.
You could. It would be a story.
I've got enough stories to share without creating one myself. And then she sort of looks at Hunter, doesn't quite know what to do.
And I just offer like a fist bump.
Yeah, she bumps her fist.
Okay.
She was gonna like pat you on the arm, but it awkwardly turns into a fist bump.
Yeah.
Take care, okay?
Dude, you're safe. Does she give you the earring back too?
Oh yeah, she gives that back if she still had it.
Good memory.
Yeah,
And she also goes and gives Moonlight Sparkle a rub on the nose and sort of feeds Moonlight Sparkle a handful of grass.
I whisper to Mala and I say, "Hey, can you just make sure she gets there, okay? And then come back to me."
Yeah, and you hear the sound of him saluting. He says, "My glass! You got it!"
I say the infernal to him too. That's wondering.
And so he hops off your shoulder and presumably trundles after Gloriana, who disappears down the road along the horizon in the opposite direction. She waves back at you.
on the Redwater.
On your Redwater.
I just gotta get on this horse.
Oh, what?
I will not get on the tiger.
Can we just walk really, really slow? I'm suddenly super nervous and I don't want to be covered in blood when we get there.
How long does the cloud last?
It's like an hour, I think.
We're about an hour away, so.
A mile? Yeah, it's an hour.
Worst case, you can always follow your way back and I point at the trail of blood that we're making.
Somewhere like a couple hours from now, there's a traveling group going this direction that just runs across the blood. Is like, what's going on?
That's odd.
Also, as you rejoin the road,
Where you stood for a while.
Yeah.
as you rejoin the road, you do notice something that wasn't along this path before.
Train tracks.
Yeah, there's train tracks that seem to stretch along the length of the road.
Yep.
It's just this like series of wooden slats covered by iron rails. So
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
that seems to be just following the road.
I don't
east-west.
understand how this is supposed to make transportation faster.
I've never seen it either.
Like what? Do you just step on the rail? What are you supposed to just?
And I'm like,
Good
good old
engineering.
engineering.
You know, horse
Special shoes or something? I've never liked shoes much, so it would be for me.
Boots, or maybe you sit on the
Yeah, maybe you sit down, Mara. I get behind you and I push. No, that doesn't seem to be working either.
And
This
then I'll
is weird.
I'll tell Kameko, be like, they're confused about this.
Kameko is looking at the rails with bewilderment, like, what is this contraption that stretches the length of the land? What does it do?
It's for transportation. Another means.
I don't understand.
It's a new technology that we're not even that familiar with yet.
I don't get it.
Well, I'm interested to see it in action.
Me too.
I don't trust it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a funny road.
I don't trust it.
And then
It's mixed up in all that Eris business.
I'll translate like, they're sure there's this taste.
Eris. The whole civilization.
Oh, right. I don't
I think
really
they're
know much
just
about
jealous.
that, but I do know it's a little bit,
Perhaps.
right? But industries.
6 of them.
Well, you get this whole tower that can sink into the ground.
That's true. That was pretty cool.
Where does this thing go?
I'm gonna get the library when we go along
Yeah.
the road.
I mean, there's plenty of room.
I'm balancing on the metal part. Like maybe this is how you do it. This is kind of fun, you guys.
And after maybe about an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, somewhere in there, of easy travel,
When the blood's gone, I just
I figured.
clean myself up.
You can begin to see the edge of the town of Redwater. On a note of the weather, it has been a bright summer's day so far. It's hot, beating down on you, especially if you're armor. It's getting a little bit sweaty. But as you get closer and closer to Redwater, the weather begins to it's still sunny, but it just begins to cool quite a bit until it's more of a breezy spring's day, it feels like. And as you get really close to the town of Redwater, you can see that there are no guards posted at the outside gates like there were last time. There were just, I think 2 regular old towns guards. And the town itself, which, to refresh your memories, is kind of a boardwalk town situated across a river that flows down from the mountain into this area, into this valley between the mountains. And so there's this entire town situated on a boardwalk, basically, across the river. The boardwalk leading into town from this direction, you can see as you get really close, maybe within 100 feet or so, seems to be wrapped with vines. And those vines are flowering with all kinds of vibrant colored
Well, it's
flowers.
already looking a lot healthier than the last time we were here.
Huh.
Right?
Super.
Maybe just a little bit overgrown, but it's green and there's flowers.
Where were the people? Didn't we pass by farms on our way in?
Yeah, you did pass by the farms on the way in to the city this time as well. It looks like a couple of the farms got moved because of the building of the train tracks.
Oh.
But yeah, you didn't see any people working the farms on your way into town.
Were the farms that we saw still in the road?
There were weeds popping up here and there, but they weren't draped with vines like the boardwalk seems to be.
Where is everybody? You remember before.
Hello!
As you're getting walking across the
Anybody home?
the main boardwalk kind of walks straight into the thoroughfare of town. And as you cross that boardwalk and get into the main town itself, you do begin to see people.
Okay.
There's people milling about, but none of them have cheerful faces on. All of them look a little bit downcast.
Just like
Some of
before.
them look sick, some of them look injured. And and there seems to be quite a few people concentrated in like this central area of town, like more than you remember being here before.
Remembering back to our time in the Shadowfell and how that affected
Well, also-
people's moods.
I mean, this place before we cured it had the same kind of downy sort of mood, right?
Did it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Similar.
So is it more like that, or is it more like Shadowfell influence?
Roll an Arcana check.
Okay.
Are we here to help or get help?
Well, it was the latter, but it looks like a little bit of both now. Okay, 14. I don't think I've rolled above a 10 all night.
You personally are still just feeling like the nerves of coming back to somewhere you've been before and seeing someone you haven't seen in a long time. You don't feel any like supernatural depression on yourself.
Okay.
So say what you will from that.
Well, let's head to the temple.
Yeah, that might be best.
Is there any more, as we walk through the town, is there any more evidence about what it was?
Yeah, there are more of these vines climbing up on houses and things like that. There's like mushrooms poking out from some areas of like more rotted wood because it's all over water. Of course, it's a bit eroded. And actually, as you're walking down the boardwalk and like looking at this nature that seems to be growing up here, you see that some of the mushrooms, the larger mushrooms, seem to have holes carved into them.
Like little holes? Like
yeah,
pixie holes?
Little holes, yeah, like the pixie houses you'd seen before. And as you get a little bit closer to
Can
one
I
of
peek
them,
into one?
yeah, as you get closer to one of them, a little pixie body, maybe like 6 inches tall, flies out, just clothed in like leaves and things like that, and just kind of flutters up towards the sky past you.
Ooh, do I recognize?
Not that one in particular, no. But
What
it's
the heck was that?
So it's a pixie. I wonder if Mint's here.
Or elder.
Or Elder. Wait, well, why would they be here?
This doesn't seem good, actually.
This is
What's
interesting.
wrong with pixies? They're pretty great. They party really, really hard. Really hard. Yeah. If we have time, there have to definitely be a pixie party.
Does any of this stuff remind me of what we saw in
No.
the field?
Not necessarily.
yeah, something about like
But that was in my language.
the
so you didn't
vibrant
have it.
colors of the flowers. And like now that you're thinking about it, you kind of look up towards the sky. The sky over the city is brighter and more, like the sun seems more vibrant than it was back on the plains. But as you sort of look out beyond the city, the other direction, it is gray clouds across the entire horizon.
Something's happening to think about.
Well, we can agree that something's happening here.
Something.
But we don't really know.
Harmony,
But
would you make me a wisdom saving throw?
Okay, Percy. Wisdom saving throw.
Mhm.
18!
18.
Am I close enough to get his bonus?
Yeah, you are.
22.
There is a sparkle of dust that goes above your head for a brief second, and you feel some magic about to take hold of you, but you force it back, and as you look up, almost have to wrap up. It's a new phone, so.
Oh, yeah.
Knew everything.
As you look up, you see the familiar face of the pixie Mint, and she looks down at you and she snaps her fingers and says, "Darn, I was hoping to get you with that one.
You have to try harder than that. Come down here.
I was going to turn you into a slug."
Oh!
And
That would have been a pretty good one.
Kameko is just wide-eyed
Yeah.
at all of this stuff.
I like put my hand out for her to land.
And
The people in this town are so sad and boring.
Yeah, I kind of got that impression the first time I was here. But what are you guys doing here?
I
I thought you lived like way out in the forest.
We did, but we can't really live there anymore because it got really dark and boring.
I see.
So yeah, we had to come here. The dragons are here too, and she points across the way
oh no.
at a
I hope you guys
cluster
aren't
of
causing
small
trouble.
ramshackle wooden houses, and you can see a sort of like a cat-sized dragon head, sort
Oh
of
my
leaning out of one of them and slumbering.
All our friends are here. Wait, so
Hunter's like, oh no.
wait, so but everyone's okay? Are you guys? Did anything happen to any of you? Where's Elder?
Well, he was kind of old.
Oh,
Yeah, but it's okay.
what? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
So are you
We
in
have-
charge now?
No, we have another elder,
Oh,
but elder was fun.
yeah. I
Small
like
elder is
Elder.
still fun, but
Elder eldest.
less fun.
Who's
He
more
was.
elder?
It's not important. The thing is, you're here now, and we can have some fun.
Oh, yes, but first we have a lot of things that we have to do. By the way, this is Thaddeus. He's kind of a bum on a log.
Yeah, he
This
kind of
is
looks like the
Mara.
rest of the people of this town. It's kind of boring.
Yeah. Anyway, and this is Mara. She's a whole lot.
What happened to the dwarf? You were with a dwarf. She was great.
She
She drank a lot.
She
Wait,
did.
do we remember? Or is it because of her departure that we don't remember?
Well, just everything
No,
that
sorry?
happened in the
Yeah.
campaign
Yeah,
still
everything
happened.
that happened in the campaign still happened, with the exception of a little bit that changed in the order.
Okay, I just couldn't remember the whole departure thing.
I think it mostly just happened for a different reason.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, she met up with her friend in Farendale, the capital. and she
Man,
went back
she was
home.
awesome.
I know. I hope we can meet back up with her sometime. 'Cause she was pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, do you mingle with the people in the town much? Do you like?
No, like I said, they're boring. There's one or two that are fun, mostly the kids, but their parents kind of keep them inside most of the time now.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen the sky, right? I feel like. things
Yeah,
are
and
getting
undead
more-
attacks at night don't help either.
Oh,
I'm sorry?
What attacks?
undead attacks.
Yeah, all
Well,
these zombies
I
just
mean,
come from the forest.
yeah, this is like the whole Ravenmoor problem spreading. Eli did warn us about this. Speaking of which, do you know a boy named Eli?
Yeah, he's the really important one in the temple, isn't he?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know
Do you
him.
know if he's there now?
Probably. He's always there. There's lots of sick people. He's been helping out.
Oh. Well, this is a big
We
problem.
should probably go see him.
Let's go see
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Okay, Mitt, well, we need to take care of this. We're gonna try and help everybody be less boring. But after
As you
everything's
say,
taken care
you're
of.
gonna help them be less boring. She does like a backflip and goes, "Yay!"
After we get it all taken care of, I'm definitely bringing Mara back and we'll party.
Well, I'll go tell Elder Acorn to get something ready, because it's about time that we had a party.
Yeah!
These people don't let us party much.
Yeah! And
And this
if
is
you
why we
could-
don't live with people.
If you could tell Lawrence that I'm here, that would be great too. I still haven't
And
thanked him for helping us out.
Azarel and Iris were the other two dragons, I think.
Mhm.
Right, yeah.
Iris was the leader
Woman.
as well.
You guys are still getting along well, right? You're not like fighting anymore?
Yeah, we
I
still
know
play
you-
pranks on each other, but lately we've been trying to make this town more fun together. So there's
That's
that.
good. I'm glad to hear that.
They haven't
Okay.
eaten any of us since then.
That's really good. That's really good news. Okay, Mitt, well, we have to go, but it was really great to see you.
Okay.
Check back in later,
And she does like
okay?
a corkscrew off.
And then I'm like, this whole time playing like damage control with Kame-Kame and like trying to get I think it's okay.
Are they spirits?
They're fake creatures.
Fey creatures. I don't know what this is, but I'm intrigued.
Oh, I love Mint. I'm so happy she's okay. That's too
Yeah.
bad about Elder though.
Well, he was really old.
That's really old.
You know,
Wow. So if they got chased out of their home, then what's happening in Ravenmoor is not just in Ravenmoor anymore. Let's go to the temple.
we leave them for just a few weeks.
Well-
they go and destroy the world.
We can blame Tal for everything. It was his job to be guarding the door.
Mm,
It was on his watch.
yeah.
Anyway, let's go.
Yeah, we go.
We're gonna go find
Yeah, and you know your way to the temple. You kind of have to hang a right onto one of the side wing boardwalks, and then as you're walking down that one, you can see those large goddess statues where Eli prayed and earned his wings. And you kind of have to hang a left from there, and then another left, and then you come to the one stone building of this town. The rest is made of wood, but the stone temple is kind of a squarish shape, as you recall, and there's just sort of an entryway that leads into an open central area where the ground is actually like exposed and lets the river flow over it. And as you enter this area, you see four figures you recognize. You see that pretty much the entire temple area and the area outside has been converted into sort of like a sick person area. So there's temporary tents that have been set up, sick and injured, and so there's people who look like they've got festering, rotten wounds on them, and there's people who are coughing and sneezing and things like that. But as you actually step into the central area of the temple, which has beds set up in it now, sort of running over the water, you see two figures you recognize, well, four figures you recognize. One of them, in one of the beds, sort of coughing as you come in, is an older gentleman who you recognize as the High Priest Phineas. He's just coughing in the bed. Eli, would you bring me more of that medicine? And he sort of gestures over to the young boy, Eli, with sort of his pale blue skin, standing a couple beds over. And Eli kind of turns to him and says, yes, I'll be right there. Just I need to finish tending to this one. And then a couple beds over from Eli, tending to another sick person, is a figure you did not expect to see here. Clad in ornate royal plate armor, with a shield with a symbol of a sun slung across the back, and blonde hairs flowing down the back, is Dawn.
She's okay.
And she seems to be tending to another one, and she turns to Eli and says, don't worry about it. I'll get to him after this one. I think I'm much closer to being done than you are. And then...
I think that is Josh is hanging.
And then the last person you recognize is basically sitting cross-legged in the water, eyes closed, right in front of the statue of Melora, with a bird perched on top of the panther skull's head cap. And you recognize the black-haired, tall figure of Aeronil, who seems to be in deep meditation in front of the statue of Melora.
I think that is just Dawn! Dawn!
And she whips around. Thaddeus!
Hi!
Harmony! Mara! Hunter! You're alive!
You're alive!
I didn't know what happened.
I run up and I just hug her.
Yeah, she returns the hug.
Wait, what?
We didn't hear from you after what happened in Ferendale, and
I wanted to make contact, but I had no idea how.
It's a long story. Where are Bray and Ignatius?
oh well. I guess I should start from that day itself. We went to go get my parents out of jail. Remember? Yes. We were successful. The creature, the aberrant creature that you saw in your reconnaissance, it wasn't there. It was just some Warforged guards, and we dealt with them just fine. And that's where Bree and Ignatius are. They took my parents on to a dais.
Oh, so they're on here too.
Yeah, as soon as I got to this town, and sort of she motions towards the sky, and I saw the clouds, and heard what's been going on. I knew that I couldn't leave the people of my kingdom. I had to stay, but obviously I had to get my parents to safety. Bree and Ignatius were the only two I could trust. I was going to send Aramel too, and she sort of gestures to him, but then she goes on. But he seemed to think he could do something to ward off the Shadowfell influence, and she gestures to the vines and sort of the sunlight above. It seems to be working.
Explains a lot.
Not what I expected, but yes, it does.
Oh, thank you.
Do you need any help with the people?
Yes. We could use loads of help.
I just goes around curing the illnesses,
Okay.
basically.
There's more than enough people to like burn through your entire
I
use
know
of
that.
lay on hands, but
Good berry, good berry.
yeah, the immediate vicinity in this temple, a lot of them receive magical healing from you. I guess does Goodberry actually heal?
He has one hit point.
Okay, so it doesn't heal any diseases or anything.
He provides nourishment for a day.
They've got enough food.
I don't know.
heal 14 people's diseases.
Yeah, I mean that's enough to take care of a good number that are in this main area, which seem to be the most gravely sick, including Phineas. So when you use your lay on hands on him and cure the sickness that is in him, his cough stops and he kind of sits up and he says, Thaddeus. That was your name, right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hammerlock. Sir. Oh, you've come at a timely moment.
I mage hand and smack the back of your head. Mage hand from across the room.
He says, you've come at a timely moment. If ever there was one. Are any of the rest of you doing anything in particular?
I'm doing that awkward thing where you're like in a room and you're like the person you want to
Like
talk to is
shuffling a
super
little bit.
busy, and so you keep trying to make eye contact, but then you get shy.
Well, yeah.
That's totally what I'm doing over next. I'm like hanging out with Dawn and I'm like helping her, but I keep like looking over.
I feel like I'm still explaining to Kameko the people here and like the area.
She's like holding her hand over her mouth to try and prevent getting sick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, eventually, with all of the commotion raised by Dawn and by Phineas, Eli does notice you. He looks up from what he's doing, and he sees the group of you and he says, Harmony! You actually did come!
Of course I came. What did you think I was gonna say? I was gonna come and then not come?
I got the message and I had no idea if you could actually do it. It's been so long.
I can do a lot of things that I didn't used to be able to do.
That's incredible. He kind of also looks a little bit sheepishly around, and his eyes alight on Mara, and he looks at you and he says, Where's Nazria? Who's this?
Mother?
He says, Where's Nazria? Who's this?
This is Mara. We met her in Farendale. She's really handy and great and awesome and fun and strong and
Okay, that's my friend.
yeah. Nazria she met up with her friend back in Farendale and they went to go take care of business with her stuff.
That's right. Her goal was to continue back home. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so we parted ways in Farendale, but that's where we met Mara, and she's been traveling with us and she's been great.
He gives you sort of like a handshake and says, I'm pleased to meet you, and if you've been taking care of these three, then I owe you a great deal.
Well, then you know what I've been putting up with.
He sort of blushes a little bit and says, yeah, I guess I do.
And then Hunter's like,
So much has happened, but
yeah.
it looks like you guys are in a bad way here. I didn't expect that it would spread this quickly.
They're not good. Not at all. To be honest, I don't know. We were considering, as a town, catching the next series of trains and just leaving, heading to the capital.
Yeah, they're better than Redwater.
How is the capital though?
I think that's probably something that is also talking about with Dawn.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dawn and you get to talking about it, and she says, yes, by the time we'd rescued my parents, the Warforged had already begun to overrun the city. Some of the guards were fighting back, some of them weren't. But it was clear who was going to win. We just had to get out.
I had heard from somebody that Oren is still in charge.
To be honest, I haven't got much news from the capital since then. The train doesn't come through this town very often. We sent supposedly Eli sent a runner for help, but no one's come from the capital, so I don't really know what the state is, but I can't imagine it's good. But you say you managed to kill Oren, and
We did kill him.
you hear rumors he's still in charge?
That's what I've heard.
That's troubling.
We didn't kill him. We brought his body to Feywild and burned it.
Yep.
He would end it. But we have to take care of this first.
Yes.
Yes, I agree. This is not something that can wait.
Gee, get down.
I'm happy to treat the symptoms here, but we are going after the root cause.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do by putting bandages on it. Festering wound.
And she says, I agree. I'd like to hear anything you know about what is the root cause to this.
It's a vampire.
Do you know
Her
anything about
eyes go wide.
vampires?
Well, I know a little bit, what they teach in the dais. Perhaps we should talk.
Eli too.
We'll go to your room like last time.
My room's a far ways away from here. But I'm sure Eli has somewhere we can talk. And she kind of motions over to Eli, and he's in the middle of tending to someone else now, sort of idly chatting to Harmony as he does so. And what he's saying to you, Harmony, as he's doing this is like, you know, he kind of gets into a little bit of a whisper. He says, "Don't tell Thaddeus this. I tried for a long time to get stronger through praying, like he does, but it wasn't working for me. And I had to find another way to do it."
What did you find?
And he gets a lot closer to you, and he whispers, "I had to kind of think about how you do magic, and then it sort of came more naturally."
Oh,
Oh dear.
well, that's
Oh,
really
no.
cool. I hope that it comes a little bit more easily to you than it does to me. I mean, sometimes I kind of hiccup a little bit, and then like when I came here, I made it rain blood on myself for an hour, and that was really embarrassing. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but anyway, I'd like to see you do magic sometime.
And he like blushes and looks at the ground. He's like, I'd like to show you, I guess.
Yeah,
sure. And then at that time, Dawn calls everyone over.
Can't tell because she's got
It's almost like bright red.
Yeah,
Shimmer red.
Dawn calls you two over, and Eli sort of motions to his room where he thinks you can all sort of talk about what is the root cause of this issue and how you're going to approach it. And I think that's where we're going to have to end for tonight.
Okay.
So, welcome to season 6?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big scary stuff. I'm
Oof.
excited. Thanks to anyone who stayed to watch. I think it was a fun episode.
Yeah.
We'll be back next Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific time. And we hope to see you then.
Catch the bot on YouTube on Wednesday.
Live on YouTube on Wednesdays. And immediately on Twitch after this as well. So, thanks for watching. Hope to see you later. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.